What?
Yes, I programmed myself to castrate Boy Scouts. Are you a Boy Scout, Beaver?
No, ma'am.
Are you sure?
All right, here we are, June 5th, 2023. Another late night for man dharma talk. Everyone, grab your popcorn, grab your grape soda, grapico, grape soda, or Fago grape. That's the kids love that. Fago. By the way, you're not a Boy Scout, are you? I don't know. I love that line. It's from some random, very weird 80s adult film. And the opening theme is Victims of Love by the band Buck Tick. Very popular Japanese band. I don't know how popular they are, but they've been around for like ever. Like since the 80s. Anyway, we'll see where this talk takes us. I kind of have the idea that I'm gonna try to tackle the sex stuff because that's a popular thing. Everyone's they're all sexting and sending people pictures of their schlong and doing all that wacky sex stuff. You know, America can't get enough of it. So I'm gonna try to have a talk about just the energy of imagination and the energy of the sex drive or sexual energy or whatever. You know, once again, I'm just some dude, you know. I don't have a PhD. This isn't Jack Kornfeld talking to ya, and it ain't Alan Watts. It's just some dude online. So, this is the way I see stuff. If I offend somebody, I'm sorry. You know, this one will probably be offensive. I don't know, but we'll see. At any rate, before I start, I'm gonna give you a minute to gather your thoughts, calibrate your mind. I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna strike the singing bowl and pause. And then we'll get back and we'll start the talk and see where it goes. All right, here we go. Back again, like tag team or whatever. Where should I start? The imagination and the sex drive. These are two very potent things. A friend of mine who reads a lot of books. Some of his favorite books are the Carlos Castaneda books. He's into a lot of that kind of Toltec knowledge, that type of stuff. He once said that the two most powerful forces in the human psyche are the imagination and the sex drive, or sexual energy. You have to kind of Hindu imagery of the Garuda, the bird at the crown of the head. Then you have below, at the base of the spine, you have the snake, or Kundalini. She who is coiled at the base of the spine, and that image, the same, basically the same image, ironically, can be found in ancient Mexico. They have the image of the eagle or the bird or whatever in the snake. And it's my opinion that these things are they're just depictions of dormant energies that exist in all of us. You have sexual energy, you have the energy of the imagination, and it's like, it doesn't have to be a scary thing. It can be. Let me tell you, there are many people in like psychiatric wards, and there are many people in like meditation retreats because of things just being out of whack with their kundalini, or that energy at the base of the spine, and the energy of imagination. it's funny because meditation retreats and psych wards, when you really look at it and you analyze the thing, they aren't that different, you know. It's one man's meditation retreat is another man's psych ward. It's, everyone in there is trying to just do whatever and waiting to get out. Wait till you, like, get out. So it's, I think the food is probably better in the psych ward. So, I guess those guys have that going for it. In any case, I mean, you don't really. If you have to go to one, don't make it a permanent thing, You don't want to always go to meditation retreats, and you don't want to always go to psych wards. That's just my take. But, sexual energy it's there. You can repress it. You can pretend it doesn't exist. Same thing with the imagination. You can, oh, well, I don't believe this and I don't believe that and this is a fantasy. Well, everything's a fantasy at one point until somebody, like, takes that fantasy and builds something with it. You gotta have a dream, You don't want the dream to have you, though. You don't want to, just make note of it. It could help you out. With the whole sex thing, it's like, well, with both of them, it's like you aren't your imagination and you aren't sexuality, or you aren't, you aren't sex. It's okay. It's fine. Make note of it. Don't repress it, and don't let someone manipulate you with it. One of the precepts in Buddhism is not to misuse sexuality. And I think that gets at the heart of the issue a lot better than just telling people sex is bad and you should be abstinent. And no, you don't do that sex stuff. Don't do it. Even if you're abstinent forever, there's still gonna be sex stuff running around in your mind. How you deal with that stuff is up to you. There's healthy ways of dealing with it, and there's not so healthy ways of dealing with it. From my viewpoint, the 25-year-old guy or the 30-year-old guy that's in his mom's basement or whatever at 3 a.m. watching 20 minutes of a porn or whatever, it could be some wacky 80s porn or some wacky 90s anime porn, with tentacles and people blackmailing people and all of that wacky weird shit that's in with wacky anime porns. It's you don't want to make too much of a habit of doing that, like make it an all day, everyday activity, but come on, man. There's the bounds of reason. That guy, he isn't nearly causing as much trouble as the authority figure who uses sexuality to manipulate someone or something like that. I mean, there was recently just a story about, oh my goodness, some Catholic priest in somewhere in the U.S. that allegedly hypnotized a schoolgirl and had sex with her, and then told her, like, if she told anyone, she was gonna, like, go to hell. Clearly, something like that. That's out of bounds. That's misusing sexuality. And I'm not, I'm not trying to make it a Catholic thing, but, it seems like that happens sometimes with these guys. But it can happen anywhere. There's plenty of, like, guys in India that get these young girls and do them and tell them all this stuff, and just, it happens. It happens each and every day all over the world. My thing is that's a clear violation. If my point is, try to seek a kind of balance. You know when something's out of bounds. You should know when something's out of bounds. You're gonna know eventually anyway, because things are gonna start to break down, and this happens a lot in people's lives. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Must be the Canada Dry I had. But this happens a lot in people's lives, and you have a breakdown, and you reevaluate things and recalibrate things, and what's affecting me, and those questions come. I mean, you can ignore them and just keep on doing what you're doing, and I'm loving it, like McDonald's. But we all have an expiration date, so you may as well try to figure something out. My thing is, be aware that there's always going to be that magnetic pull of sexual energy and the magnetic pull of the imagination, and you can balance them in a healthy way, and you won't hurt yourself or other people. But you have to acknowledge that this is going on. You're not balancing anything by just going, oh well, that's not what it is. If you have a problem, the first thing that you'll need in finding a strategy to deal with that problem is acknowledging the fact that, hey, there's a problem here. And that's not easy. You look at America today, and I don't know. It seems like they have a problem with sex stuff. In one direction or the other. You have the really militant anti-sex people, the Junior Anti-Sex League, like in 1984. Then you have the people that insist that they are their sexuality. So I don't know. They're at the end of the day, they're both kind of victimizing themselves in my eyes because you aren't either of those things, and you just calm down and you know be be aware that you're not those things. Those things are a part of you and they're a part of your world, but you don't have to you don't have to beat people up over them or beat yourself up over them. And you're never gonna be that thing. That's for sure. I had a friend back in the day who was in her she was in her like late 20s and had a few kids, and she was a psychology major, and she had a pet snake, and her big thing was like just how many random guys can I sleep with, and this is like an empowerment thing for her. So she did that over and over and over again, and she complained about the guys and how they sucked, and you know how come these guys are no good. And you've got to analyze what you're doing and what you're attracting. You know, it's it's not easy, but it is possible. But it becomes a harder thing when you feel like, oh, I figured it all out. Shit, I haven't figured it all out. I figured out what works for me, and that works for me, and I can talk about that and explain it in the best way that I can. And if it helps someone, then it helps. If it doesn't, I'm hey, sorry. I don't think I'm hurting anything at this point by just voicing some of these opinions. But the sex stuff is like, I don't know, man. It's it's out there. It happens. You don't have to. I don't think it's a good idea to sleep with a bunch of people. You know, why would you feel like you need to do that? The way I see it, it's doing that is an exchange of energies. And, I know I can't prove this, but I've seen a lot of people that sleep around or sleep with multiple people. And at a point, they're just going batty. And it's like, I feel like there is a kind of imprinting onto the personality when you just willy nilly sleep with someone like that. Especially when you're drinking and you're doing mollies and smoking weed and whatnot. But hey, you gotta be with the in crowd. You gotta do it. Hell, I don't gotta do it. At the end of the day, it's not for me. I like girls, you know. I don't. I'm not. I'm not afraid to say that I've seen a something that's male and that it has been attractive to me, but you know I like the girls generally. But at any rate, it's like whatever, dude. I'm not gonna give someone a hard time if they like guys or if they're if they're bi or trans or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's an aspect of your personality. But is that the whole of you? Of just I'm trans guy or I'm gay or I'm whatever, man. I've where I'm at my standpoint. I just look at it like I have experienced sexual attraction. It happens. It comes and it goes. And it's like so many things. It's like you can do that with anything, man. It's like the psychic people, like, oh, I'm psychic. Are you psychic or did you experience a psychic phenomenon? Whatever. You know. I'm not psychic, that's for sure, but I've had shit happen to me that could be described as a psychic phenomenon. So I won't write the whole thing out, but at this rate, I'm not writing anything out. Yeah, that's, can be ghosts, goblins, whatever the fuck. It's all, it's all an aspect of the mind anyway. So, whether you acknowledge it or you don't acknowledge it, it's gonna be there. You're gonna have some wacky dream about like a ghost coming to get you, or you're gonna have some naughty fantasy of some goblin doing you. It's, does that mean you said, go whole hog on the goblins and get a bunch of goblin porn and watch that all day and dress up like a goblin and just goblin out all together? No, probably not a good idea. Or identify yourself as a goblin. I I wouldn't do that. But as long as you're not hurting people, you're not. Oh well, yeah, everyone's gonna be a goblin. That's when it. That's when it starts to be like a problem when you have some authority over someone and you try to assert your will over them, and you know, for some kind of gratification. But that can happen with a lot of things. You know, it's like personality cults. It's when something just becomes a personality cult. I don't know. I'm kind of wary of that. You know, I've turned on the TV and I've watched shows and I've seen stuff and I've read plenty of books and listened to books, and I definitely have. There's been different personalities who have influenced me, but I like to try as best as I can to get a feel of the energy behind the personality. I find that's helpful. You know, the I always remember the story of Ananda, who is the Buddha's nephew and his attendant, and he was the last person, really, of the Buddha's disciples who achieved a kind of liberation because he was always fixated on his uncle, and it's all right, you know. It's all right to. I mean, he can't help but care about his uncle. You know, it's not like it's a bad thing that he felt the way he did, but sometimes that can hinder you from seeing things the way that they actually are. But they also that can also do that in the other direction if you have like a burning hatred towards somebody or something, then that'll stop you from seeing things as clear as you can. But you know, the sex stuff is like I don't. It's out there. People there are plenty of people in the United States today, in my opinion, that misuse sexuality and they misuse the energy of the imagination. But the sex stuff is on overdrive, man. I mean, we have all these images of things in our collective conscious, and you know, marketing and all of that. They've been working that like crazy, you know, with the girls biting into the hamburgers in a sexy manner, and you know, it is what it is. But we didn't get we didn't get to where we are overnight, and we aren't gonna, you know, as a nation, if you can call this a nation still, it's gonna take some time to balance this stuff. My thing is just be aware. If you're gonna talk to your kids about sex stuff, and I don't have any kids, I've never have any kids, don't have any desires to have kids, but if you are, just tell them. I think you should tell them just be be aware that actions have consequences, and don't let someone manipulate you or bully you. Be confident enough to stand in yourself, and you know, don't don't believe the hype, you know. Just teach your kids that, you know, whatever, as long as you're not doing anything harmful to people and yourself, then you're fine. You know, don't succumb to peer pressure. But if you have a desire to do stuff, don't overly don't beat up yourself for that, you know. That can be abusive too. It's all right, you know. It's sex stuff. It happens. You might have a fantasy when you're a young person. I tell them you're better off just having a fantasy, and don't make it some kind of power game. Like, you don't want to like start off in life in the beginning doing that. And at the end of the day, what am I, 43? I To me, sex was never really like a power game where I've got some power over someone, and I don't think it's gonna be like that for me. You know, I've seen what that leads to, and it's not good. Force the imagination. You get, hey, imagination's good, but don't you don't want to sit around daydreaming all the time. But whatever dreams do come, make note of them. You know, you don't want to fight your imagination, and you don't want someone to bully you like, oh, you're you're like some kind of a low life because you spend your time like doing drawings or playing music, or you're not out there in the workforce. You can work as an artist and a musician. So if that's what you want to do, and if you feel drawn to that, don't let somebody tell you that, oh, that's a bunch of crap, because it's something, and something's better than nothing. But don't. I guess the main thing is just stop. People need to stop trying to trying to manipulate people and like, use people with stuff. There's energy, there's natural forces, and there's the difference between yoga, things like that, and the kind of darker black magic stuff is the main difference is you're dealing with natural forces and you're trying to harmonize and unite them in your body with the yogas and stuff like that. With some of this other stuff, it's like you're dealing with natural forces and you're trying to put some other entity into bondage, or you're trying to manipulate nature to get things that you want. Things that you desire. And hey, do that long enough and time's gonna run out on you. It's not gonna be pretty. You could be, you know, I don't know. You could ride out into the sunset and just be some old guy that dies in a rest home, or you could be like a guy in a psych ward for the rest of his life, or you could be a guy arrested for like getting people to kill someone or killed himself. In any case, you don't want to manipulate people with stuff like that. I mean, do you really? Clearly, it's not a good thing karmically if you believe in karma, which you may not. You may just be like, hey, I'm gonna do whatever because I believe whatever, so I'm gonna get whatever I want in this world. I don't know. My thing is, actions have consequences. I hope I'm not rambling too much, but basic gist of the thing is, it's sex stuff. It's with you. Whether you want to pretend that it isn't with you or pretend it is, it's there. And over our life, we're confronted with it numerous times. And how you deal with those confrontations in life will be the measure of the type of person you are at the end of your life. It, are you gonna, you know, you wanna end this thing happy at the end of your life, don't you? You don't want to be constantly thinking about all the people you screwed over or all the girls that you just told them X, Y, and Z and knocked them up, and you've got all these kids and none of them know you. I mean, you don't want to be that guy. You also don't want to be the priest who hypnotized a schoolgirl and has sex with her. You don't want to be that guy at the end of the day. Well, I guess that's about it for our little talk. I hope you enjoyed that. I did. And you're not a Boy Scout, are you? We've got a way of dealing with Boy Scouts. Anyways, happy trails, and till next time. Hope this was helpful to someone.